Jason Miller is a former senior advisor to the Trump transition team. Meghan Hays, former director of message planning for the Biden White House. Just further to what Max was saying about Newsom's claim that the president never called him. As we showed a few minutes ago, the president sent me a note saying, yes, I did call him. He also sent me a picture of the call log to prove that he called him. We'll have that for you in just a couple of minutes. But first of all, let me go to this, because this is Hakeem Jeffries on the removal operations that ICE is undergoing. Listen here.
Do you support ICE detaining illegal immigrants that have criminal histories and backgrounds?
The Department of Homeland Security, under the leadership of the so-called Secretary Kristi Noem, is a complete and total embarrassment. And so anything that they put out should be scrutinized through that lens.
So he thinks the Department of Homeland Security under Kristi Noem is an embarrassment. What would that make it under the leadership of Alejandro Mayorkas, during which 10 million people came into this country illegally?
Look, I don't think that what Jeffries is saying is appropriate. I think that most Democrats here believe that illegal immigration needs to be handled. And Trump, this is what he campaigned on. This is what he voted for. This is not a surprise to the American people. It's not a surprise to Democrats. So I don't necessarily think insulting the Department of Homeland Security is the appropriate way to go. I do think, though, that two things can be true. And I think that either you're the Republican Party for states' rights or you're not. So calling in the National Guard and sending them to California is not appropriate either. So I think that we need to have some more common sense here, but I don't think Leader Jeffrey should be insulting Kristi Noem and the Department of Homeland Security when people do think that illegal immigration is out of control and needs to be handled.
All right, so you think that the federal government should observe states' rights. Well, what about 1965, where Lyndon Johnson didn't like what George Wallace was doing down in Alabama and sent in the National Guard against George Wallace's wishes?
Well, I think this is President Trump doing exactly what he said he was going to on the campaign trail. He said that he was going to reverse this. He was going to secure the border. He was going to send the 15 million plus. It was way bigger than 10 million, John. He was going to send the 15 million plus illegals back home. Now, here's the reason why President Trump is taking such action and why everybody, in my opinion, should be saying thank you to him. All of those criminal illegals that are in the country could be the next murderers of a Laken Riley, a Jocelyn Ungary, a Rachel Morin. These are some sick, savage, twisted people. And you see their activity. They're throwing cinder blocks and things like that. So President Trump is right to step in and get them sent home. And in fact, if you're a criminal illegal and you're protesting violently at one of these, starts as demonstration, turns into a riot, and you're wearing the flag for another country, they should treat that like a self-addressed stamped envelope. That's where you're getting sent back to. So
Kamala Harris decided that she wanted to weigh in on this, and she's getting ripped for it. Here's what she said. I am appalled at what we're witnessing on the streets of our city, L.A. Deploying the National Guard is a dangerous escalation meant to promote chaos. This administration's actions are not about public safety. They're about stoking fear. Fear of a community demanding dignity and due process. Protest is a powerful tool, essentially in the fight for justice. And as the LAPD, mayor and governor have noted, demonstrations in defense of our immigrant neighbors have been overwhelmingly peaceful. Ignore the burning cars, ignore the rocks being thrown at Border Patrol cars as they go by, ignore the pieces of sidewalk and curb that have been broken up and have been thrown on law enforcement officers from an overpass. But what's she talking about here?
So I do think that part of what she is saying, there is validity to it. People do have the right to protest peacefully. But I think that what we need to address here is bringing in the National Guard is an escalation. 4,700 troops is more than we have in Syria fighting a terrorist organization of ISIS. That is not appropriate in L.A. when LAPD can handle it. This is not a small city.
But the LAPD said they were overwhelmed. And
that is fine, and that is something that the governor should talk to the LAPD about, and then if the governor feels the necessity to bring in the National Guard, he should do that. But I think that we need to separate out here what's happening. ICE should be able to do and deport illegal immigrants in a lawful manner under due process, and people in LA should be able to protest. And I do think that bringing in the National Guard escalated this situation. But I also think that we can all agree there are agitators here that come in on every protest, whether it's for Gaza, whether it's this, there are agitators that come in that really disrupt this and really take away from the peaceful protesting.
So Senator John Fetterman sees this through a completely different lens than the former vice president did. He said, quote, I unapologetically stand for free speech, peaceful demonstrations, and immigration. But this is not that. This is anarchy and true chaos. My party loses the moral high ground when we refuse to condemn setting cars on fire, destroying buildings, and assaulting law enforcement. I mean, to hear the Democrats on Capitol Hill talk about it, Jason, none of that happened.
No, and Senator Fetterman better be careful. They might kick him out of the Democratic caucus. I mean, that's not what you can say within the Democrat Party. And I think it's notable that we talk about Kamala Harris, who probably runs again in the future, because right now, with the Republican National Committee and others, we're tracking every Democrat who could possibly be running, whether it be the 26 midterms or in 28, who is saying something about these riots, who is standing up and actually defending these criminals. And guess what? Expect to see those in TV ads. One other quick point regarding President Trump. Part of the reason why he has to step in now and do this is to send a very clear message. So if anyone tries this in other cities, they're going to be stopped immediately with full force. That was a big part of the campaign, was to bring law and order back as well as securing the border. So I'm glad the president's stepping up.
I just think we have to really come up with a real policy change here, and we need to figure out how to legislate immigration. And doing it through EO is not effective. We saw that with the Biden administration. We're seeing it with the Trump administration. Congress needs to do something and to have effective immigration reform here and actually do something, because you cannot dictate policy through executive order. It just is a pendulum that keeps switching, and then we end up in situations like this, which is not good for the American people.
All right, Jason.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.